I was walking along through the woods again. This was a regular thing. I kept following the crow calls, the raven calls, and I was led again to an incredible place. The sun was shining gold, the grass was green, the stream was flowing, the most incredible place. You see, I grew up very, very rurally, and playing in the woods and wandering through the woods was something I was, as many of you know that know my history, an ill child. That's part of what led me into the healthcare field. But also, this early on developed my relationship with nature, with spirit guides, with animals. Also, this led to parts of my journey in spiritual practice. So, animal spirits, animal guides, animal spirit guides, animal medicine. There's a million different ways to say it. Animals reminding us of characteristics that can help us move forward towards our goals of developing and leading a dream practice. It was through these animals initially, whether in real life, like the journey that I've taken through the woods following animal calls or animal tracks multiple times, or in guided meditation, in shamanic journey, speaking with these animals and these animal spirits that reminded me of characteristics that I have inherently that I can bring out and nurture and grow and have those be characteristics that then can support me into this life that I desire, this life that I lead. Okay. So that's a really, really important thing. It's our dreams, right? It's your dream practice that you're building. And so there's general connecting with spirit guide information that I wanted to give you. So the first one is that these are your connections. This is yourself speaking to you in a way that you can receive. Whatever animal you notice, whatever message you get from it, whether you find it online, whether you find it in a book, or that's a meditation where you've communicated, or whether that's you noticed that animal doing something, that is the message for you. Okay. And I say that because you're going to see books that will have, say, Raven in it. And the message from this culture for Raven, the message that happened to get captured and written down in a book, in this particular book for Raven, versus the message that you happen to get right then from Raven, the message in this culture versus that culture versus this website might all be very different. It might all come to you in a different way at a different time. Trust you. This is again trusting you and trusting that you are bringing into your experience the thing that is going to get you toward your desire. Okay? You set your desire. I want my dream practice to feel this way. You say, yes, that matters to me. I'm going to commit to that. Okay. I'm going to get really clear about it. I'm going to take the action. I'm going to protect this space. I'm going to call in the resources to bring this desire into being. These messages that you are creating for you. Receive whatever it is that comes to you, whatever it is that resonates, whatever it is that, yes, that, oh, whoa, right? Like that's the one. It might be different tomorrow. It might be different 3 months from now. You might take a look back and chuckle that raven used to mean this, or cow used to mean that, or elk used to mean this, and now they mean something different, and that's okay. That is going to morph and to change, okay? Now, here's the other thing. So I mentioned those number of ways that those messages can come to you. What does raven mean? What does cow mean? You're going to see, notice, perceive this animal energy right now. What I am saying about animals is true about numbers. Maybe you notice a particular number pattern repeating. Maybe you notice it's on the gas tank, it's on a billboard, it's in phone numbers, it's on codes. You start noticing numbers repeating, shapes, okay? Spheres, spirals, half moons, squares, rectangles. Maybe you find yourself wanting to decorate everything with straight lines versus wavy lines. Notice these things. Bring this awareness to your experience. Colors. You find yourself always wanting to wear orange, decorate everything in blue. Whatever the thing is, right? There's the color in the Spiral Coaching and Consulting logo. Okay, is the crimson red. There's a lot that goes with color. Okay, so what I'm telling you about your animal spirit guides can be the same as whatever messages you're bringing into your world, however you are able to receive them is the thing at the time. Okay. I'm going to talk about animals this time, but know that this relates to each of the, whatever your thing may be. Okay. So maybe you see a hummingbird. Maybe you on t-shirts, in a magazine, on the laptop cover picture. Maybe it's the animal that's on a journal. Maybe it almost flies in front of your car. Maybe it walks into an intersection and just stops. Odd behaviors, in your face behaviors, noticing an animal where you wouldn't normally notice an animal, noticing more numbers of an animal than you would normally notice. All of these are places that you are bringing this message into your experience, bringing your awareness to that thing. Then, what do you notice it doing? It's getting your attention. It's walking. It's fighting. It's flying. It seems happy. It seems to be searching for something. It seems confident. It seems whatever you perceive. That's the thing. Notice what you were thinking about as it appeared. Maybe you were wondering, should I write this or should I write that or should I make this choice or that choice? And then hawk flies in front of your car. So yes, there's the written down ones, right? There's a number of books that I like to look at. There's particular websites that I like to look at. There are guided meditations that I love to teach about going to ask them, but also what are they actually doing? What did you actually perceive? And learning to trust you and your relationship with your experience, okay? This is a big piece of developing this relationship with you and coming into confidence with you and owning your desires and coming into that clarity. Realizing how influential and how powerful you are in your experience. Okay. Right? Yes. Dr. Stephen Farmer. On Dr. Farmer's website, there is a free little course on connecting with your animal spirit guides. He has guided meditations. He has little prompts. He has awarenesses to have, those kind of things. And it's just a free little, it's really powerful, actually, course on connecting to your animal spirit guides. Okay. There's some great meditations on there. Some of these were my early connections too. I kept seeing a mammoth in my visions. And so I wrote to him and I was like, hey, Stephen, what does mammoth mean? Or where would I find what mammoth means? He was like, well, what does she tell you? It's like, well, she's not talking to me. That's the thing. I was struggling to connect with this one. And come to find out, she was my fear. She was my fear. And she would show up in different ways in my meditations. She was a characteristic of mine that would show up in these meditations. And I had this idea that she should be something else. But she was scared. She was nervous. She was afraid to speak her truth. It was that part of me that still was. So let the message be what the message is. 6 animals that are ones to notice, to be aware of in your experience, to study them, get to know their behaviors, get to know how they interact with their environment, get to know what their strengths and what their weaknesses are, get to notice, what do you see them doing? What do you think of when you think of a mountain lion, a bear? There's so many I could talk to you guys about. I did try to narrow it down to keep this training a little shorter. I'm going to actually do bear first because that came up right in. Bear is the strength of looking within. It is this strength, this inner strength. Bears hibernate, they go into a cave, they go within. One of the meditations that I had with Bear one time, I was struggling with the thing. And I went in meditation to go ask a spirit guide what to do or how to. It was one of these that was like really naughty. It was really like I would get over here and then it would be like the same problem. And then I would kind of unravel it a little bit over here and then it was like the same thing. And it just kept being the thing that was blocking and everything kind of kept leading back to that problem. And so in meditation, I was going to go ask, hey, what's a way that I can begin to unravel? What's a thing to look at? What's awareness to have to begin to unravel this thing? And I was in meditation, right? You walk across the field and you have there be a light or something to let you know that your guide has shown up. And then you ask them, hey, can I approach you? Can I come into your experience? Would you come into my experience, however that feels true for you? And then ask the question. Well, a bear showed up, another bear. Look within. I had looked within so damn many times. I was so pissed off. But it was this huge 10-foot tall Kodiak bear. I did not stand up to its stomach. And I was mad. And I threw a tantrum and I was beating on the bear and I was kicking it. I was like, how dare you? I don't want to see another bear. I've looked within already. And I just kind of tipped its head down and said, look a new way. Look another way. And sure enough, later in the day, I was open to receiving another way to see it. And I had fixated on this one way of looking at it. And I looked another way and it was an easy thing to unravel. But it did require looking another way. Okay. So look, that inner strength, that is what we work on in pre-leadership, right? That's a big piece of learning to trust you, letting that confidence come within, owning your desires, realizing how influential you are in your life, right? Taking the actions, providing for and protecting your full expression, your dreams, your desires, your values. That's that inner strength within. Doing this work is leading before you have followers. And that is one of the key messages of mountain lion, of cougar. Cougar is the leader. That is the energy of the leader. It is this gracefully and with strength, nimbly leaping from one to the next. She is efficient. This is not reactive. This is very proactive. She doesn't leap for a kill until she's sure that she wants to do that. Okay, she observes, she's aware, she knows when to bring in, she knows what activities to lead her cubs on, when it's to be a part of a group, and when it's time to, push them out and be on her own and tell the cubs to go. There was a rock outcropping that I used to spend time on in Colorado, and there was a day I was thinking of kind of trying to work my way down around the front of this thing. There was a hill up the back, and so it was pretty level, but then when you went to the front, it was a pretty steep drop off. And there was a day that I was wanting to start working my way around. And she said, and I heard kind of in my head, "You're okay up there, but don't come down here. I have cubs down here, and I don't want to hurt you, but I will if you come down here. You're okay up there. Not overnight. You can be here for a bit, but then you gotta go." And so I spent my time on top of the rock outcropping. I did not go down below. The next year or a year and a half later, I did go down around the front of this rock. I had the clearance. She said, "Okay to go." And I went down around the front of this rock, and sure enough, there had been a den. There were obvious signs that there had been a den. So that was one of my first, like it happened in meditation and then it showed up. Mountain lion. So pay attention, notice. You will be blamed for certain things as a leader, for people's insecurities, which means you need to have a really incredible grasp of your own. You need to know where they lie. You need to have gotten rid of them or simply have awareness of them. Yep, that's a place that I can be insecure. I'm going to have awareness for that right now and not let you trigger me. We're going to talk about the fox and the boar. Fox. Fox is this great one, and it took me a long time to get this one. Fox is, so that's two, right? We've got mountain lion and we've got bear. The fox and the boar, and I'm going to count this as one. So for those of you that live in the South, you know what wild boar is. You know what a javelina is. You know what these energies are. If you don't, look it up. Okay. Boar is charge forward. It's kind of obvious, right? Boar's charge. Charge forward. Okay. Or don't. So I was seeing dead javelinas by the side of the road. They'd been hit for a while. It was this message of hold, not now. We're not charging now. And then all of a sudden I started seeing them and was like, go, you got this. Go, you got this. Yep, you've hit on the right thing. You're doing the right thing. Go. And knowing when to go and when to hold. That's where Fox comes in, because Fox is observation and camouflage. Being able to be a fly on the wall, being able to be there and be observing your staff and your patients without them noticing you. And being able to turn it on and show up when and how you want to. And then being able to camouflage again. They can step barely into the woods and then you don't see them. Or they're bright red or black, and they're very obvious. Also, they're observing. That more of this observing energy, awareness, that is the first arc of light leadership, and knowing when to pounce. So they watch and then they pounce. So it's a similar energy of boar, but it's a pounce instead of a rushing in. Okay, so those are two sides of that same coin. So mountain lion, bear, boar and fox. And then I'm going to go hawk and mouse. Hawk is this overview idea. Hawk is overview. Overview. Okay, sometimes we get so in a thing that we miss the bigger picture. This is something I encourage you to do with your staff. We get so fixated on a thing. We get so into the billing and so into the weeds of coding that we forget like how a practice actually works. And you forget what you're part of at the front desk and how you check it in and how you schedule the exam has to do with how the technician or the MA brings them back, and the questions that they ask, and the number of chief complaints, and the testing that they do, right, has to do then directly with how you can code it, has to do directly then with how they can bill it. Okay. And there's this bigger picture. Knowing when to back up and look at the bigger picture, but then mouse is knowing when to get into the details, knowing when it's time to get into the weeds, knowing when it's time to like really get your nosy in there and really start snooping around. Okay. A lot of times this I find is where there is so much money sitting in your coding. There's a modifier that they could be adding. There's a there's not a consistent spot for your pre-authorization number, so they're not getting billed out. So then they're coming back as unapproved. There's little consistency details that when you do these little details well, then it makes everything else flow easier. So that's where you're setting up these systems and structures to support you. That's where all of these little, so knowing when to go above and to look at an overview, these are big ones for leadership. All right. And then Falcon is when to dive down. So Falcon is a little bit like Boar, but for me, Hawk was like circle above, circle above, circle above, like keep it light, keep gleaning information, keep learning. And then that's when it was time to niche. That was when it was time to, it kept gathering all this information and all these modalities and all this information and Harvard researchers and Uber Woo Woo and all these things. And then it was, okay, this is where you drop. This is where you put your stake in the sand. And being able to perceive those differences and being able to hold when you want to figure it out and being able to hold or step back or all of these things, right? You're giving yourself these messages and you wonder what your next step is, but you are telling you what your next step is. So learn this relationship with you. Learn how you communicate with you. Again, this might be numbers, this might be letters, this might be patterns, this might be shapes, this might be ilk, this might be, right, types of cases. Maybe you keep seeing liver cases come in. Maybe you keep seeing small intestine come in. When you think of that organ, what does it do? Right? That's a message to you. Let you communicate with you. Okay. The last one I want to talk about is Raven and Crow. Raven and Crow. Raven and Crow. They look similar, right? And they are kind of two sides of the same coin again, and they're totally different. So Raven is see with new eyes. This was the message that was my takeaway from Raven when I first started looking into Raven. And Crow was, they were cross-eyed in this story. It was this idea that energetically and universe-wise, those rules, that way of being, that way of interacting, that way of having relationships, that way of energetics, those rules, those laws, those supports, those stories are different than human rules, laws, shoulds, shouldn'ts, stories. And that there is this double layer of things happening at all times. So when I teach Lux, that's the energetics of the core collection. When I teach Lux, I'm teaching you the energetics going on behind the scenes. Okay. And then once you know the energetics going on behind the scenes, then we can apply it to our human experience. And this is where I know you guys are so brilliant that I don't need to always do the applying for you. Okay. Sometimes we get twisty and I can help you untwist that. But once you know the energetics, what's happening at the core of the thing, right? Once you see the sand that's in the pearl, then you can create the thing. You can extrapolate what's happening, that information, and decide how you want to apply it. But I think so often we get so in the weeds about the energetics, or we get so surface with the human experience and the tasks and the to-do lists that you forget how this all goes together. And I know this was a place that I had really struggled when I first started doing some of this spiritual work. Like, how do I take this uber woo woo concept and apply it to getting groceries, my daily life, your your daily interactions? Okay. How can I take these animal messages? That's neat, but like, what the hell does that have to do with driving my car home that day? So this realization that there are multiple levels happening at any given time, that there are times that I watch my human self have an experience, and then my spiritual self, my higher self, call it what you will, is watching going, oh yeah, that was a good one. Oh, yep. Feel that all the way through. When my human self is crying. Oh, wow, what a gift was that to walk through this way. Oh, this fucking sucks. And being able to hold the space for both of those experiences. That is crow. Okay. That it like is this really heady thing. And once you get it, it's so real and it's so liberating and it's so freeing to realize that you can have, frustration with the human experience at the same time you know that you are on exactly the right path. Okay. It liberates you seeing that the human laws are not always the ones that you desire to be following, that there are new ways to look at the thing. Okay. And that's Raven, that there are new ways that you can look with new eyes, you can look with new perspective. As you shift in you, and this is where the pre leadership work happens, as you shift within you, then what happens outside of you, the life that you create, the relationships that you have, those are going to shift also. Okay. So that is leading before you have falling, is doing this inner work. Do you see where these all connect? Doing this inner work, building these relationships within you, learning to trust you, learning that you are giving you exactly your next steps, learning that it may not look like a human expects it to it look, right? But that there are a multitude of layers happening at any given time, and that you can experience more than one, and it's okay. Okay? Ha. So noticing, how do you communicate with you? How do you talk to you? What are your next steps as you own your desires, as you commit to your values, your full expression, as you begin calling in the resources, taking the action, building your confidence, providing for and protecting a place for those things to be. That is your dream practice.